So today you had a chance to evaluate my speech, and you could see the differences between the speech that I delivered yesterday and exactly the same speech that I told you today, but using some more interactive and interesting ways. So many of you mentioned in your evaluations that you liked my second speech a lot more because you were able to find more information about me since I used Adobe Spark's page, and you could see some of my favorites, some of the quotes I like, some of the things I do. So definitely using technology and using some more interactive and engaging ways in your public speaking is really important. And today you will be able to do the same thing when you will be delivering your speeches in the second part of the lesson. Right now I would like for you to look at our screen, and you can see three large letters on our screen, and it's TEP. Those are really important letters for any public speaker. So who can tell me what T stands for? Any ideas? Teach, tell, time. Very good. So it is time. I cannot stress enough how important time is for any public speaker. It's important to be able to time yourself. It is important to be able to stay within the time limit you're given, and it's important to use your time wisely. I've seen so many students actually preparing for their presentation for weeks, and trying to learn it and trying to remember it, but then they forget to time themselves. And when they get out and they stand in front of 10 people, they get nervous, and what happens is they're not timing themselves, and sometimes they will tell their presentation like in 2-3 minutes when they actually had to deliver it for 10 minutes. Or even worse, when they have 5 minutes to tell their presentation, they will go for over 10 or 15 minutes. And their teacher actually has to stop them because they don't have enough time to let everyone go for so long. So it's important to time yourself, and for you to be able to be a good speaker, you need to get into habit of timing yourself when you're practicing. And even when you're delivering speeches, every time when I deliver a speech, I use my cell phone and I use a timer on my phone. So I time myself, and once in a while I'll glance at the timer and I will check myself. So if I have 10 minutes for a speech, I will make sure that my introduction is not longer than 2 minutes, right? I need to make sure that I have enough time for my body and conclusion. Even good speakers that practice for years, they still time themselves because it's important to be able to deliver your whole speech, the whole message in the time that you're given. So remember T, remember and time yourself. This is key point number 1. So what do you think E stands for? Okay, I'm gonna help you. So E is for eye contact. So T is for time, we can show like a watch, and then E is for eye contact. Another important key component is to maintain eye contact. There's no way you will have your audience engaged in your speech if you are not keeping an eye contact with them. It is hard, I agree, it takes practice, but if you have hard time keeping an eye contact with your audience, practice. Practice with a mirror at home, practice with your family, with your friends, with other classmates. Try to tell your speech number of times before you will actually present it, so that you will get into habit of keeping and maintaining an eye contact with your audience. And if you do that, you definitely will be able to keep your eye contact with your audience during your speech, and that will help your audience to stay with you and to follow with you for the the whole time of your speech. It's never good to cover yourself, right, with papers, to hide your face behind something, to hide your eyes and not to be engaged with your audience. So number 2, right, the second key point is to keep an eye contact, E. So time yourself and keep an eye contact. What do you think about P? Prepare. Yes, that would be a good one to explain this letter. But I took this letter as practice. Practice, practice, practice. There's not enough times to say practice because it's crucial. If you want to have a good performance, you need to practice. As they say, practice makes things perfect. So your speech will be good only if you will practice it. Believe me, your audience will be able to tell, especially if you're a new speaker, you're not, someone who has 10 or 20 years of experience in this. Believe me, your audience will be able to tell if you practiced enough before delivering your speech. So practice at home, practice timing yourself, practice keeping an eye contact, with a mirror, practice with your friends and family. Try to practice a number of times before you actually will deliver your speech. So right now I'm going to make this experiment. I'm going to tell you about things that we will do in the next part of the class, and I will choose 2 different ways to deliver my message. So in the next half an hour, we actually will have a couple of students present their speeches today, and they will use Adobe Spark to show their page, and they will talk about their personal story, and they will have 5 minutes to talk about their lives using different interactive ways and pictures and things from Adobe Spark, and other students will evaluate them, and they will tell what they think about their presentation later. So do you see that telling you about the next assignment we have, I actually didn't maintain my eye contact. I went a little longer than I probably should have, and I'm pretty sure half of you now have no idea what I've been talking about. So it is important to deliver your message in an effective way. So for today's homework, you actually will be doing evaluations of every student who will present today. We most likely will have half of the student present today, and then half of the students will present tomorrow. So whoever will present today, other students will need to evaluate the speaker. They will write some comments on the sheet of paper today, and then when you go home, your homework assignment is to type up your comments on Sycamore, and then you will actually fill out the evaluation form for every single student, and you will submit it on Sycamore for others to see and for me to be able to do an assessment of your evaluation form. So you can see how I actually gave 2 different speeches, right? I told you about the presentations that we will have in a couple of minutes, and I told you about your homework, but I used 2 different ways of delivering. So first time I had no eye contact, I was running out of time, I was kind of like not engaged with you. But then second time around, I tried to be more engaged, more lively, I maintained my eye contact, and I kept it short. And I'm pretty sure that you understood more information from your homework rather than from presentation about your presentations, just because of 2 different methods of delivery. So what we are going to do right now, I want us to do a little guided practice before we will actually get into our speeches. And I will have groups of 3 students, and what you will need to do, you will have around 5 minutes for this whole assignment. Every single one of you will take turns, so 3 in group, and 3 people will take turns to take 1 minute and tell your introduction to other 2 partners in your group. So you will basically use the same introduction that you will use for your presentation, but you will tell it to your group, and they will be able to give you their evaluation. So they will tell you, maintain eye contact, or, you actually went for over 1 minute for your introduction, so try to keep an eye on your watch, or, comments like that. So remember constructive criticism that we talked about in last few lessons. So try to give 1 positive and maybe 1 thing that can be improved. And we are going to take time and, have 5 minutes for this exercise. Keep in mind tap, right? Keep in mind time, eye contact, and practice. So right now I would like for you to get into groups of 3, and you will work with your partners for next 5 to 7 minutes.